And he's out of here! LeBron James has just been ejected!
Best NBA ejections of all time. Assuming there are no major injuries involved, someone getting ejected from a sporting event is usually a pretty amusing event. You know what I'm talking about. Basketball is a tough sport, and of course, like every other professional sport, it gets heated really fast, especially if the stakes are high. Here are the best NBA ejections of all time. If you're a subscriber, well, welcome back, but if you're new to this channel, make sure to click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our engaging videos, and use that trigger finger by smashing that like button. Now, let's get into it. Excessive posterior padding. You've gotta love when little things go down between NBA players when they end up doing little things back and forth, creating a bit of animosity. Well, here we see Grant Hill and Reggie Evans getting into a butt padding contest, one that the referee didn't seem to like very much. This ref, who looks very much like Neil deGrasse Tyson, decided that he'd seen quite enough between the two and ran them out of the game before anything escalated further. There you have it, folks. What might possibly be the only ejection in the history of the NBA for excessive butt grabbing. Tracy McGrady's coffin corner. There's no doubt lingering on this call that Tracy McGrady should have been ejected, but it's rare that you see a player get so caught up in his emotions that he ends up throwing something into the crowd, let alone twice. Technically, McGrady didn't throw anything into the crowd, but he did go off and punt the ball into the crowd twice. The best part about the whole thing is after a mediocre punt on the first one, he got his leg into the second and really blasted it out of the end zone. Vince Carter adds insult to injury. There was a long period of time when Vince Carter was public enemy number 1 in Toronto after wiggling his way away from the Raptors and getting traded to the New Jersey Nets, abandoning Toronto. Something tells us this didn't help him much. Here, Carter playfully slapped Mo Peterson in the face, at which point Mo Pete returned the favor, but the referee saw Peterson and pointedly tossed him. Of course, after that happened, Carter went to tell the ref that there was no malice meant by it all, but the damage was done. Sean Williams tossed as a fan. Sean Williams had a short run in the NBA, but he did leave behind a legacy that few people can claim. And we are talking anyone in the entire world, not just basketball players. After being cut by the Dallas Mavericks, Williams decided to take in a game courtside at Dallas's D-League squad, the Texas Legends. Apparently, Williams was joking about the referees with a few of the players, at which point the referees got upset and chucked him from the game. He was ejected not as a player, but as a fan. Sean Williams took his popcorn and went home. Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns throw hands. 76ers star Joe Embiid and Timberwolves big man Karl Anthony Towns have a history of butting heads, and that history boiled over in the second half of a Philadelphia blowout of Minnesota. After getting tangled up under the basket, Embiid shoved Towns and Towns threw a punch that missed. They fell to the floor, and Embiid teammate Ben Simmons ran in to hold down Towns before the fight was broken up. Both Embiid and Towns were ejected. Marcus Morris bounces the ball off Justin Anderson's head. Knicks forward Marcus Morris and Wizards forward Justin Anderson had already been jawing at each other all night during a preseason game between the two teams when Morris took things too far. While Anderson was defending Morris at the three-point line, Morris swung at Anderson with the ball, then hit him in the head. The two were quickly separated, but Morris was ejected from the game for a flagrant 2 foul. LeBron James ejected for first time in career for arguing non-call versus Heat. James was ejected from a game for the first time when referee Kane Fitzgerald slapped him with a technical foul for arguing a non-call in the third quarter of the Cleveland Cavaliers showdown with the Miami Heat. Prior to the early exit, James racked up 21 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals in 28 minutes. Shaq ejected. We can all agree that Shaquille O'Neal can get out of hand sometimes, whether it be shoving players or just being overly playful in nature. Sometimes it proved detrimental to his team in the form of a foul, other times it earned him a technical, but he didn't usually get ejected unless he earned it. It's safe to say he didn't earn this one. Shaq threw down a monster jam on Andrei Kirilenko and jerked around a bit at the top of the dunk. His arm jerked down on top of Kirilenko, completely inadvertently. He was, of course, tossed. Hand check. Referees don't like jawing, but they seemingly don't like physical gestures from players either. Aaron Brooks learned that firsthand in a game with the Phoenix Suns when Brooks grabbed his junk in a way that was directed toward referee Ken Mauer. Brooks might not have said much, but the intent was definitely there, and referees don't seem to like the insinuation going on there. Knowing what happened, Brooks laughed, shuffled off, and waved to the crowd en route to the locker room. Ron Gerritsen. Ron Gerritsen could be a dictator on the court, and if you didn't respect his word, he would lay down the law and it would be swift and sure. Rasheed Wallace found that out the hard way. When you look at it, it looks like Wallace did nothing, and really he didn't do much. However, after earning a foul and a technical early in the game for barking at Gerritsen from the sidelines, Gerritsen warned him to cool out and quiet down, which Rasheed did. Of course, after Gerritsen told him to stop staring at him, trying to intimidate him, and Rasheed did not oblige. Sheed kept staring, so Gerritsen tossed him. Steve Javie is crazy. Steve Javie will go down as one of the most disciplinarian of referees in the history of the league. And he's probably the only one to ever toss a team's radio play-by-play man and a team's mascot. Back in 1991, Javie was officiating a game for the Washington Bullets as Hoops, the team's mascot, incited the crowd against the referees after a few calls went against Washington. Javie did the only level-headed thing he could have done. He threw him out. Fast forward to 1994, Javie was officiating a Portland Trailblazers game when he had an issue with their analyst Mike Rice, disputing calls from the scorer's table. Javie did the only thing he knows how to do and subsequently tossed him. Houston Rockets DeMarcus Cousins, Los Angeles Lakers Markieff Morris both ejected. Morris and Cousins were called for double technical fouls with 2:15 remaining in the first quarter of the Houston Rockets' 120-102 loss to LA for getting into a shoving match after Morris flagrant foul one on Jayshawn Tate, which sent the Rockets forward, sprawling to the ground. Morris was ejected for the infraction after he retaliated against Cousins' body check that made him fall to the floor by charging at Cousins to push him while he was helping Tate up. Not long after that, Cousins also was ejected early in the second quarter when he was called for a flagrant foul 2 for hitting LeBron James in the head. Joey gets the last laugh. Kind of. Easily the most infamous ejection in the history of the league had to come at the hands of Joey Crawford. And of course, the world's most unpopular referee obliged. During a late season game in 2007, Tim Duncan was sitting on the bench and said something to Crawford, so Joey CT'd him up. No harm, no foul. Kind of. Duncan was laughing about earning the technical foul, something that didn't sit well with Crawford, so he called a second tech on Duncan, tossing him out of the game. You see the smile slowly fade from Duncan's face as he realizes what happened, with all of the Spurs bench slowly figuring it out as well, leading to a crazy clump of confusion. In the end, justice was served when the league suspended Crawford indefinitely, but it was a huge black eye for the league in the long run. Which among these NBA ejections is or are familiar to you? Let us know in the comments section below. And hey, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so we can continue giving you the best content. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.